All right, team. So today we're going to be going over the Lean Startup by Eric Ries on the accelerate part of the book here. So chapters 9 and 10. So I had a question for you as I was kind of going through this. How many of you guys have tried doing it the faster way and failed? I'll kind of share an example, and if anyone wants to share their own, you're more than welcome to. But I remember when I was in college, I had a little part-time job as an office assistant, which I was very bad at. I was the office assistant of the week every week, and I was the only one there. So it was one of those jobs, and I was asked to hole punch a bunch of documents. And at one point, I was doing one by one. I got so bored and frustrated. I was like, what if I just put 20 pieces of paper in the hole punch and see if they all just, if I can make it work faster, right? So I did that, and turns out the hole punch couldn't quite get through all 20 sheets of paper at once, and it hit maybe three or four. A couple had some loose ends or broken wedges, and it was just kind of a disaster. And that'll kind of lead into like the big batch and small batch of the book, but it was just an interesting little example I thought of as I was kind of reading about batches. Um, so that leads us into working in small batches, right? So the IMVU example from the book, it comes down to design, develop, and ship. You're working collaboratively to release an update to a small batch of customers. You want to measure success, update as needed, and that leads to making 50 changes to a product daily. So basically what you're doing is you're taking a design, you're developing, and then you're sending it out. You're trying to get as much on the spot, real-time feedback as you possibly can to then make updates so that no matter what happens, the end product is aligned with what the customer wants. And by doing this, you're doing it in smaller pieces in order to not go too far down the road and have a big issue that comes up later. So that with that being said, there are immune system barriers. To ensure protections are in place, you want to have defective changes removed immediately and automatically. What defective changes is basically a change that's made that can potentially create a burden or a problem within the process. So you want to make sure that there's protections in place to remove those now, not later, so that no matter what, you can get back on track. And everyone on the relevant team is notified of the problem. That's where communication comes in. You want to make sure you're communicating in all facets of the process. Team is blocked from introducing any further changes that may impact more issues. So when you're in the middle of something, it's easy to just want to keep going or keep trying to finish or get to the finish line as fast as you possibly can. With the immune system barrier, you want to be sure that you address the issue immediately and you fix the root of the problem before you then proceed going into the next steps. So some small batches in action. There was a story of SGW, and SGW Design Works was engaged by a client who had been asked by a military customer to build a complex field X-ray system to detect explosives and other destructive devices at border crossings and in war zones. Conceptually, the system consisted of an advanced head unit that read X-ray film, multiple X-ray film panels, and the framework to hold the panels when the film was being exposed. The client had already had the technology for the X-ray panels and the head unit, but to make the product work in rugged military settings, SGW needed to design and deliver the supporting structure that would make the technology usable in the field. That's a pretty complex batch that they had to figure out in order to make it really usable in the field, right? So how do they make it usable in the field? Well, they got creative. They came up with 3D models, which served as rapid communication tools between the client SGW to make early design decisions. That led to an advanced locking hinge, which was created to provide collapsibility, required without compromising the stability. And 3 days later, the team delivered the first physical prototype to the client. That's pretty impressive if you think about the complexity of what took place there in order to get to the end result. It was a pretty impressive outcome, and that was small batches in action. So Small batches, you're kind of going piece by piece here, right? Then you got the large batch, which is trying to jam 20 pieces of paper in a hole punch and hoping for the best. You can get a lot of work done and find yourself stuck too far in the process with large batch. It also can interrupt the workflow. Time, lost time impacts efficiency, and there's also limitations. When I had to go back and try to fix all the broken pieces of paper, that actually set me back more time than it would have been just to do one by one. There's actually a story in the book here about a dad in the envelopes doing one at a time instead of doing 100 at a time, right? Sometimes we think small batches are actually going to take more time or waste time, but ultimately it allows you to course correct a lot more efficiently and faster. So Toyota is a perfect example of a successful small batch manufacturer. The production system is the most advanced in the world. They leverage creative ability of employees and the maximum performance by employees and right measures of process over the long term. They have a really solid learning culture at Toyota. They really want to advance not only their creative abilities, but then also leverage people's mind share in order to achieve optimal results. That's why they have one of the most amazing production systems that everyone really wants to model from is Toyota. So where does growth come from? The aim is to achieve sustainable long-term growth. 4 ways to drive sustainable growth. There's word of mouth, which is me telling a buddy, hey, I just subscribed to Geico and I saved a boatload of money. As a side effect of product usage, drive awareness when they're used. So it's like when you purchase a Coach purse, you always want to show it to everyone, and everyone asks, oh, what's your purse look like? It's Coach, right? So it's just kind of driving that awareness. It's the best purse I've ever had. I love this purse. Funded advertisement, that's like Google Ads, different sources of advertising through the web, and then repeat purchase or use. So that means you go for the first version of the Coach purse, then you go to V2, then you go to V3. You just kind of keep purchasing them. So there's the engines of growth that we're going to go over next. The sticky engine growth. Repeat customers that are constantly hunting for the latest items and the best deals. Think about your Android phone. You can't ever really switch to iPhone once you have an Android. It's really difficult to switch, and it makes it really difficult to do so. You're kind of stuck. And also, rate of new customer acquisition must exceed the churn for the product to grow. So you want to keep on bringing new clients and customers and acquiring your product. Then you have the viral engine of growth. Person-to-person transmission. Think about like a cold, right? I purchased some Reebok Nano shoes I wear to the gym. It's the best gym shoe I could have ever asked for. They have good grip. You can climb ropes, not have to worry about ripping your shoes from underneath. It was almost like the best shoe I could have ever asked for. So I kind of bragged about it. People started buying them too. Flip-flops with bottle openers at the bottom of them. That was like the new big extreme example of the coolest flip-flop ever. It has a bottle opener at the bottom. It's just a little tiny thing that makes it so unique that you want to just tell everyone about it. And you tell your friends and you grow from it. And then also you want to connect to your customer. Who is your customer? What makes them really excited about your product? For me, the Nano shoes just had great grip on the bottom, and that was enough to make me feel excited about them. And then you also have the paid engine of growth. Google Ads, we use those here. Sometimes they're really effective, other times they're not, but it also brings awareness. Paid sources of advertising online, similar to that. Then you also have the customer lifetime value. Each customer pays a certain amount of money for the product over his or her lifetime. So it's like if I look at the Reebok Nanos, when version 1 comes out, I get excited about it. I use it till it wears down, then product 2 comes out. You want to keep getting the newest and most improved models because you expect that it's going to have something of value that you'll continue to purchase over time. So now we can go to our discussion. There was a lot to cover in this chapter, so I wanted to try to get through it, but also talk about different aspects of what could have stuck out to you guys. So we can open it up to discussion now.